Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Deciding to Soar, Living Life Your Own Way. My name is Sharon Jamison, and I am a corporate leader, a minister, an author, and a mom. And I'm committed to helping people be who they were born to be so that they never settle for what society has taught and told them to be. And if this is your first time listening to the podcast or viewing the podcast, welcome. So glad that you are here. The Deciding to Soar podcast is an unscripted, unedited, imperfect place where we have conversations and honest discussions about what's happening in our lives and how we can be the highest vision and version of ourselves. And today I am so grateful and so honored to be talking to someone I deeply admire, and that is Dr. Vikki Johnson. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself, but I want you to know who she is to me. She is a life strategist, a leader, a minister, an author, a truth teller, a wisdom bearer, a secret keeper, and a mom. And when I was thinking about this subject, talking about the power and the healing power of witnessing Black women, I had to bring Vikki to the show because Vikki is a person who has always made me feel witnessed in all of my complexity, in all of my contradictions, in all of my successes, in all of my struggles. I always felt seen and loved and respected by her. And so I am so grateful that she is with me today. So welcome, Vikki.
Thank you, Sharon. Happy to be here.
I'm happy that you are here too. I shared how I described you, but tell people a little bit about who you are and what you do in the world.
I love walking around barefoot in my bare feet. And so here recently, now that I just turned 60, a lot of my pictures, you're going to see me without shoes because I'm in this legacy era of my life. And, soul wealth is who I am, is what I embody, it's what I teach. And I'm in the legacy phase of soul wealth, which is vision, compassion, authenticity, abundance, and legacy. And in this phase, I am enjoying life as a grandmother, as a mom, as a daughter, a sister, an aunt. I've been in a wonderful relationship for years, just enjoying traveling, been in media mentorship. I have a women's community called SWIM, which is an acronym for Soul Wealth Masterminds. I have a daily podcast, the Soul Wealth Radio Show. I work in the film office for the mayor's office in Washington, D.C. of film, OCT, Office of Cable Television, Film, Music, and Entertainment. And you call it the DC Film Office for short. And I'm an elder at my church, and I've been a member of my church now almost 30 years. And
Wow.
so, legacy for me is about relationships, it's about connection, it's about covenant, and it's about protecting the people who are in my life. I do a lot. I do
Mhm.
sound baths, I'm a speaker, I'm an author. Those are the things that I do. I am now living who I be and doing so unapologetically. Up until this decade, in my life I've been doing to create the platform that I am now a beneficiary of. And, it's not an overnight success. I am a latecomer to any new technology, any new platforms, so it's been years that I've been building this community
Mhm.
of people, whether they follow me in ministry, whether they listen to my podcast. And I'm fascinated that like the largest audience listening to my podcast is in Singapore, you know.
Mm.
And I've been doing that since 2019. December 2019 is when I launched the podcast, which is also when I launched my book, Soul Wealth, Finding Vision, Compassion, Authenticity, Abundance, and Legacy. All of that right before the pandemic that we are now on the other side of. And so, really, truly, I love the beach. I love photography. I love Sacred Sisterhood. I love mirroring or reflecting back to especially other women, their greatness. And I'm also enjoying being a grandmother to two boys. So that's me, that's my life. I'm a living kidney donor.
Wow.
And that is important because it also puts top of mind for me being as healthy as I can, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, energetically, financially. And that's a snapshot of who I am, what I do, and how I show up.
I have to say, that's a big snapshot. And it really speaks to the complexity and the multifaceted and multidimensional aspects of Black women. And also just honor you for bringing
Thank
all of that
you.
together, because I think parts of our lives inform and shape the other parts of our lives. And when you think about what are the things that I hear you say that resonate with me and have always resonated with me, is your sense of truth. So I'm not shocked that your biggest audience is in Singapore, because truth has no limits.
Right.
And so I think people can feel the truth and amen the truth and confirm the truth. It doesn't matter because truth supersedes culture and societal conditioning. So I honor that. But so many things you said, that I want to tap into. I want to tap into this sense of covenant, being a covenant keeper, a secret keeper, a promise keeper, having a sense of connection that's sacred. Because I think that part is so critical to witnessing women in all of their complexity. Because people can see your stars and your stars and your successes, but those other parts that I feel like there's women feel isolated and alone about being having some covenant around the aspects of their lives that are not public. Talk to me about why covenant is so important, and how can women share more covenantal type of relationships with other women.
Seeing themselves in other women and not seeing themselves above or beneath or behind other women, seeing themselves in other women and knowing that's me, that used to be me, that can be me
Yeah.
moving forward. That sense of connection is what creates covenant. Soul wealth is born in 2014 when I did a TED talk on the power of sacred sisterhood, which is when women connect, collaborate, and create community. The result is soul wealth. Born out of 3rd John, God desires that we prosper and be in health, even as our souls
So,
prosper, our
yeah.
souls being the seat of our emotions. And so when women come together and connect, collaborate, create community, we create, right? We are then able to create covenant and be with each other in safe and sacred spaces. And so that for me is very real. Sisterhood was birthed, nurtured in me since I was 10 years old. I started my first girls' club at the age of 10.
Mhm.
And the oversight of that girls' club was my mother and my grandmother. My grandmother was a counterpart of Dr. Dorothy Height, who is well known for the National Council of Negro Women. Well, my grandmother at one point was the national president for the National Association of Colored Women's Clubs, which
Mhm.
was a sister organization of NCNW. My mother pledged a sorority in college. I pledged a sorority in college. So I've always been surrounded by other girls, other women. I played basketball, team sports
Mhm.
since probably 11 years old. And I am still friends with my childhood playmates,
Wha-
still
I don't
to
even
this
know my
day.
childhood playmates. I don't,
To this day, and we don't talk every day. We don't see each other often. However, in every area, every season, every chapter of my life, I am still connected to women as far back as when I was 3 years old. So it's not something I say, it's something I live, and it's who I be.
Mhm.
And authenticity is really a big part of that because we attract what we reflect.
Yes.
So I am very intentional about being
Mhm.
authentic, being sincere. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. I am perfect in that I am complete. I am imperfect in that I'm not without error
Yeah.
at times or challenges. And those for me become lessons. It's like, how do I not repeat that?
Yeah. Right?
How do
How
I
can we
not
move
do
forward?
that again? But the biggest
Mhm.
part for me, Sharon, living in those shadows and the complexities, as you call them,
Mhm.
but integrating all of the shadows of me
Mhm.
is reconciling a
Mhm.
life of being misunderstood
Mhm.
with purpose
Yes. Oh my
and
God.
alignment and assignment, that being misunderstood comes with that.
Absolutely.
So I have a large assignment.
Mhm.
So being misunderstood has always been a part of my life.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with it now. So I am my best friend.
I just love what you're saying. And what is something that I have always seen in you when you talk about alignment and assignment and sometimes being a leader, I've always seen you as a visionary.
Mhm.
And I think that one of the blessings of being a visionary is that not only do you have sight, but you have insight. And when you see further, sometimes above, when you become really prophetic in some ways, you do get backlash because people can only understand based on their level of maturity or whatever God has revealed to them. So I've always saw that you were a visionary, which makes me want to go back a little bit to something you said about being in covenant and sisterhood. The reason why that is so important to me, we have so much in common. I've always been the person on the fringes, kind of different, but feeling aligned with myself, but also not part of the in crowd. Never wanted to be a part of the in crowd. But well, what I'm seeing in my own practice, in my groups with women, is that everybody talks about wanting to feel connected and wanting to have sisterhood. But I find that many people don't have the skills to be in close connection. They have not seen a lot of sisterhood. Like my life, I haven't seen a lot of true sisterhood. Have not seen a lot of secret keeping. Have not seen a lot of celebration for people in all their uniqueness, however that looks like. So, what are some of the tools based on the work that you have done with other people that women can develop or really strengthen so that they have the emotional infrastructure, the spiritual capacity, or even the faith and the hope of being able to take off their personas and be at ease with who they are, but also be so at ease about who they are, they can be at ease with others. What are some of the tools? I'm interested to say for you to share what have you learned and what have you seen as you help people usher through their lives?
Acceptance
Mm-hmm.
of self, forgiveness of self.
Mm-hmm.
We carry a lot of layers put on us by other people. And that's the power of authenticity, which is a part of soul wealth, removing the layers that other people put on us. Is that true? Why? Uh, Examining our belief system.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite questions is, who told you that?
Yes.
Where did you get that from? Being willing to sit, one of my favorite words is contemplation. Sitting and really thinking, where did I get that? How did I pick that up?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? Do I like that? Or was I indoctrinated or programmed to like that? I don't like that. That's not who I am. So self-acceptance is important. That cannot happen, however, unless you have self-awareness.
And I think self awareness is very
It
difficult.
is very, very. key to self-acceptance.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times we are just going from one thing to the next. We're not really present
Mhm.
with ourselves in moments that matter. We are performative,
Mhm.
we are people pleasing, and we are projecting.
Whew.
So the self-awareness
Mhm.
is critical to self-acceptance. Well, how do I become self-aware? It means I have to really truly get a sense of self-love and self-care.
Yeah.
What does that look like beyond getting your hair done, nails done, going to the spa? How do I protect my nervous system, which is a big conversation now?
Yeah.
However, we've always been like that. I am intuitive, prophetic, and empathic since a child. Been that way all my life. And I am now in the season where I am remembering who I've always been. That's what life is about. We come here and we forget.
Yeah. You're so
Life
funny.
is
Yeah.
about lessons that help us to remember.
Remember. Yes.
And then when we remember, we return to what I like to call God's dream
Mhm.
for us and of us. And when we accept God's dream for us, then we can become God's hands, eyes, voice, presence wherever we go, because God works through people. And so it's a long answer, about how do we show up in ways that are healthy and loving and gentle. It takes work, it takes therapy, it takes prayer, it takes modalities. It requires taking care of yourself, getting rest, eating well, doing supplements, practicing emotional intelligence, always learning, not looking to other people for our identity. Who are you? What does that mean? And what are you here to do? Who are you here to be?
Yeah.
And when you tap into purpose like that, it drives. How do you tap into purpose, Vicki? It's really easy. I tell people get a core values list, like of 100 words. Pick out your top 50, narrow that 50 down to 20,
Yeah.
narrow that 20 down to 10, narrow that 10 down to 5.
Yeah.
And those 5 words that you're drawn to should be the governing blueprint for every decision, every word, every choice, everything that you do should be governed by those core values because that's what really matters to you.
That's what
And when
matters.
we live aligned to our values, now we're living authentically. Now we have peace. Now we can stay grounded, set boundaries, honor them, and be happy. And that
I.
doesn't mean life is not happening. Life is
Mhm.
happening all around that,
Mhm.
right? Life is taking place all around that. We are all still dealing with what preachers like to say
Yeah,
vicissitudes
the vicissitudes.
of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, you can have peace in the storm
Mhm.
and be anchored in the storm when you do that work of being who you've always been
Mhm.
and living that way unapologetically.
Unapologetically. That is the word. It's so interesting that you share that perspective. And let me tell you, that was not a long answer. That I think you are giving people a feast to feed their souls. So I want you to answer questions as long as you feel that you're guided, right? It's something that you said. One of my
That's funny because I'm not long-winded ever. Like people write me paragraphs asking for advice and I'll respond with a sentence, maybe.
Well, you know what? I think maybe it's just God is guiding you to
Yeah.
answer these questions in the way that you are answering them and so generous with your words. So I don't want you to change anything. I'm grateful. And you reminded me of one of my prayers, my most sincere prayers. God help me remember who I was before society told me who I was not, and then give me the courage to be her.
Mhm.
And that is the hard part because to your point, I love this whole perspective of self-awareness and acceptance, and you use contemplation, forgiveness. I was writing those words down because they speak to me and resonate with me on so many levels. And one of the hardest truths I believe that it's hard for people to see who they are because you see yourself who you are also in connection with others. So one of the questions I always like to ask people after they become my friends, trusted friends, right? I ask them, how do you experience me?
How
Not
do I
no,
experience
not
you?
you. This is a question I ask for
Oh,
people. Well, I
oh,
know you're gonna tell me because, but you're one of those people. For example, I could come to you and say, "Listen, how do you experience me?" And I know that you're healed enough and I'm healed enough that you can tell me your truth without projection, without what we call hateration, without jealousy, without envy. You can tell me how you experience me in spiritually and socially, intellectually. And you're one of those people that can tell me a lot to help me see myself because we see ourselves. Yes, you always need a reflection, but the reflection has to be healthy, the reflector, the mirror, but the mirror has to be healthy because if not, people will give you wisdom out of their wounds, and that is never something that will be edifying or uplifting. So when we talk about giving people permission to be self-aware and to sit with themselves and challenging all the historical narratives and stereotypes and indoctrination and also the religious impartation that people have to navigate from. What do you think is the hardest thing that people have to deal with? For me, for example, the hardest thing that I had to deal with to learn myself is to see myself outside of the religious narratives that I had to learn. I'm a preacher's kid, right? And so I had to, when religion to me got enmeshed with my identity and then enmeshed with culture and racism and sexism, it's like I had to peel all those layers back, as you mentioned, layers, to see myself to based on your interaction with others, but also your own process, what were the biggest impediments to delayering all those ways that you had been molded and shaped by a society to be who they wanted you to be versus who I believe God, our creator, has created us to be?
so is the question, what were the impediments?
You know what? I think that is the question. What were the impediments, and what was your process to systematically delayer so that you could start to reclaim and re-see yourself through the lens of alignment, through the lens of purpose, through the lens of who God said Vicki was. Well,
Yeah, so I'm going to answer the question. That's why I wanted to make sure I
yeah.
understood. I'm going to answer the question with my process of
Okay. Oh,
delayering because
yeah.
I think people are impeded by different things based on their circumstances and based on their experiences, based on indoctrination, belief systems, trauma, all of those things.
Mhm.
What helped me delayer, as you said, and rise above was a revelation and really an illumination of the revelation of who God is in me, through me, as me. It is what people now call deconstruction. I had a personal one years ago. I just wasn't talking about it. I was demonstrating it through my writing, through how I showed up, through rearranging people in my life, through being very intentional about spaces that I was in, places that I went to, who I was aligned with. and not being afraid to stop doing things that no longer served me. I know people talk about, well, if it's no longer working, stop doing it. That's very real and for me, very literal. If
Mhm.
I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it long.
Yeah.
Even if I start it, I won't finish it.
Mhm.
So it's also for me about what gives me peace. What drives me is if I have peace. Now people talk about regulating your nervous system. Well, a regulated nervous system is peace.
It's peace. Yeah.
A dysregulated nervous system is turmoil, chaos. It's the languaging around it. So the revelation that I got was is, I often quote Job 22, agree with God quickly so you can have peace and good will come to you.
Yes.
The revelation is rooted in scripture that we are to be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion. That greater is our God, greater is he that is in me than he. Some people refer to God as she. God is neither male nor female.
Mhm.
It's the reflection that we've been given,
Yeah.
I'll say, without going too far into that river of a conversation. Greater is he that is in me than she that is in the world, right? Understanding that I am divine, that I am the breath of God
Mhm.
in the earth, that, you know, currently there is this group of monks walking
Mhm.
from Texas to Washington. And I look at them every day because I am fascinated by their peace.
Mhm.
They are walking barefoot in the rain, in the snow, in the cold, in the heat, undeterred,
Undeterred. Stable, grounded. Yeah.
smiling,
Yeah.
calm, stopping to greet people to say, I see you.
Mhm.
Let me show you some love in this moment. Walking for peace. That resonates with me. When you strip away all the isms,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, we are really one, as one. We are as one. The challenge is avoiding the disruption and the devastation and chaos of people wanting to keep us divided. So it's about managing your environment, your atmosphere, what you look at, what you listen to, who can talk to you, and really creating a bubble, if you will, a space. That's not to say we aren't to be aware of what's happening in the world. We should be aware. We don't have to absorb it because at the end of the day, there is a greater authority at work. God, angels, ancestors, the integration of all of those powers
Mhm.
I believe in, and I don't defend it, I don't explain it, I just live it.
Yeah.
I live it. And I am not in pursuit. I am just being every day fully present in every moment to the best of my ability in peace, right? And breathing. Like I just saw you take that breath,
I
staying
took that
connected
breath.
to my breath,
Yeah. I just
coming
I
back to my breath,
yeah. Yeah.
right? And just being and knowing that I get to evolve.
Yeah. Oh my. eh,
I don't have to stay the same.
You have to say the same. That's what that breath that I took, it was because your words are landing on my soul. And so I am listening to your words. I am watching you speak. And the power of your words, I had an awe moment when you were talking. And I didn't even realize I had just took, had just taken a breath until you said it because I felt the energy and the healing power of your words and of your presence as if I am sitting at the foot of such wisdom. And that's something I've always admired and loved about you.
Thank
And
you.
something that I just want to name, I love how you are so precise and you allow yourself to speak in a cadence that
Mm,
honors your wisdom.
mm,
I think sometimes we have so much wisdom and we rush. I'm one of those people who's a rusher, right? And to sit here with your wisdom given in the cadence and the rhythm and the speed, I feel like it's sinking in the pores of my body.
mm.
And I just honor you for that.
Thank you, Sharon.
I just honor you for that. Something I just want to say to you to talk a little bit about making sure, really, I'm putting it in different words, making sure you're in good soil,
Mm.
good environments. Because if we're seeds, we need good soil. We need to go where we are watered and nurtured in the sun. And sometimes I just want you to speak to this. I know when I have to remove myself to get into good soil, and the soil can change based on the season of my life, like you, I'm in my 60s, right? What I feel sometimes, Vicki, and I would love for you to touch on this, the grief associated with growth. Because sometimes I have grieved and I still had to move. I had to grieve and still I had to quit. I
Yeah,
had to grieve and still I had to leave.
yeah.
But sometimes I stayed too long because I wanted to prevent or delay the grieving. So, can you talk about how growth and grief are really part of the same process?
Yes, I can. I'm hesitating because I'm looking at my plants
Mm,
that I'm surrounded by really right now. And several of them need to be repotted
wow.
because they have outgrown the pots. And I need new soil,
Mhm.
more soil to fill the bigger pot so that the plants can then be repotted in healthy soil that will allow them to grow in a way that they remain healthy and fruitful and productive. There are sometimes I have to prune my plants. I have to cut off the dead ends, the parts that are no longer growing. Same with hair.
Yeah,
You got to cut the split ends
yeah.
so that the healthy hair can grow. We are the same. We outgrow people. We outgrow circumstances and situations and places. So the detaching is what stings a bit. That's when you return to your breath and know that where I am going is going to support my growing,
Wee.
and I can continue to be, not do, be in a way that supports my peace because it's stressful trying to drag people who don't want to move, trying to convince and persuade people they should go forward. I don't do that. I don't give advice. People reach out to me, Vicki, what do you think? Well, I say, what do you think?
Yeah,
Again, it goes back to those core values
yeah.
because our decisions are guided by our core values.
I think sitting with and knowing our values to be guided and governed by our values, to just to your point, is where we have victory. There's nothing worse than being misaligned. There's nothing worse than being in contradiction with your soul.
Mm-hmm.
And it affects every aspect of your life. And
Mm-hmm.
something you said, I love you talked about disruption. Because to me, disruption, the, um, detachment, I think they're part of destiny. They're divine. They're painful, but I wonder sometimes, God never said that we were going to tiptoe through the tulips, And I think that people think that growth should feel a certain way, purpose should feel a certain way, and and ease and easy are two different things. To me, ease is when I'm okay with my body, so it can be hard because I'm at ease. But I think sometimes people are looking for easy, like quick fixes, microwave movements, right? Versus what you are talking about. So if you had to give women some some wisdom, because I don't like to even say advice, based on your own life, how can another person witness you as you're moving through the shifts, moving through your evolution or your transformation? What will help a person do that? Let me maybe that's convoluted. Let me say it this way. I'm talking to you and you bring up so many ideas. What I am going through my transformation process, one of the ways I like to be witnessed is someone just to say, I see you're shifting and I honor that. Without judgment, without giving me some unsolicited advice,
Mm-hmm.
just to acknowledge that I'm moving. And sometimes acknowledge that I'm moving however it is means that the axis between me and you will change. That or that I'm growing, or I have outgrown, or maybe I'm repositioning or reprioritizing. So when I'm going through a shift, that's enough for me. I like to be witnessed that way, not to be involved, but to say, you know what, she's going through something, and I honor it. How do you like to be witnessed when you are shifting, and how can people witness you to make you feel supported through all of the iterations that we will go through, especially me and you after 6 decades? So what does that look like for you?
People, women that I'm in relationship with, I'll give you an example. There are times in my life where I'll get a text or I'll get a voicemail or I'll get a phone call. Hey, I'm reaching out to you. You crossed my mind, or you've been on my mind for a while. I just needed to reach out to let you know I'm praying for you. That's it. They might call me. Hey, what's going on? They might not. I might tell them. I might not.
Just to know that you're
Having the space
Mhm.
to know and breathe and just be. Like when I get those messages, phone calls, text messages, to me, that's God winking at me.
Yes,
Got you.
yes,
Because I'm not a complainer. I'm not going to pick up the phone and call a bunch of people and tell them everything that's going on with me. And there's stuff going on around me all the time
yeah.
with people that I love, right? So it does affect me. Having the space to breathe and know that if I wanted to talk, I can, that I have a space to do that, and that I am on somebody's mind. That's enough for me because I am on my own mind.
Listen, I'm on my own mind. I'm in my own heart, and I am so glad you shared. That's what you need, and I think that sometimes we need to tell people how we experience their support. I remember when I think I mentioned to you I had been going through some health challenges, and people were I'm gonna come by and calling, and it did not feel like support. It felt like intrusion,
Yeah,
right? And so I'm really clear about how to support me, what support needs to look like, so I can experience it as support. Because if
for
not,
sure.
I will experience as intrusion or invasion. Because in some ways, people think I'm a loner. I just hear God better alone.
Yeah.
I don't need a amen section. I'm like you. I don't share what's going on because, like you, I am with myself. But then I know that when I get in the bind, I know I can call somebody like you because you're a secret keeper. I've known you almost 20 years now. Secret keeper, you always give wisdom. You always give patient dialogue. That's one of the things I'm enjoying because our personalities are very different,
Mhm.
and you have a way of being a grounding force.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the truth. So if for people who are navigating right now so much family complexity, political uncertainty, a lot of career transitions, job disruptions, some of us, like you and I, we have parents on one side, but then we have children and grandchildren on the other side, and that we are still the conduit or the engine of the family, so to speak, in some ways. What advice can you give to people like me and you about how to navigate all of that, how to keep pruning, as you said, how to um, remain consistent with your alignment and your assignment, how to continue to let your values guide and govern you? I love what you said. What are some things that you can share, really, especially for people in our generation, the 50-year-olds, the 6-year-olds, 60-year-olds? Because I think we're in a very precarious, but also very powerful place. So,
Mhm.
because we can affect many generations in front of us and behind us. What would your advice be? Your wisdom be?
Operate,
Yeah.
operate from your overflow and not your capacity.
Okay, you got to explain that. I
I've
mean,
been
I know
saying
what you
that
mean.
forever. Yeah. So my grandmother, I used to sit in the kitchen with my father's mother when I would go visit her. And she used to make coffee in an old fashioned percolator coffee container on the stove. And you can see the coffee percolating in the little clear part where they pour it out. And they, back in the 70s, didn't have these gigantic coffee cups and mugs. They were like nice little teacups and a saucer.
Mhm.
And my grandmother would take her coffee, pour it in the cup, and almost every single time the coffee would spill over the top into the saucer. And she would sit down, put her sugar in the coffee, her little carnation milk,
You
flavored.
going way back. Yes,
Yeah, back in
yes.
the 1900s, we didn't have
Yeah.
all the flavored creamers and all the
Yeah.
things. And before she would sip the coffee out of the cup, she would pick up the saucer and sip the coffee out of the saucer. So my answer is only give away what's in the saucer, not what's in the cup. What's in the cup is for you. What's in the saucer is your overflow. And if nothing is in the saucer, you don't have anything to give anybody else.
The preacher in me
So,
wants to shout. The preacher in me wants to shout. That that just spoke to my heart. And I have to remember, this is a corporate me, the preacher me, all of them the same. But that part, I just had to pause and say, Amen.
yeah, I've been saying
Amen.
that for years. And
Powerful.
it's rooted, I got this revelation years ago out of Ephesians 3,
Mhm.
starting around 14, to know the love of God that surpasses knowledge,
Uh, mhm.
to be filled with the fullness of God, right? That people cannot tell where you end and God begins, or vice versa. When you get to that place, verse 20 is what a lot of people quote. Now unto him who's able to do exceeding abundantly above all we can ask or think according to the power that's working in you. The goal is to stay in overflow so that overflow is what God has to exceed on your behalf. When you are living, operating, being, giving, sowing, showing up from your capacity, when God shows up to add the extra, you never really get to the fruitfulness of a state of being because you're always giving from your capacity. What God gave you for you is what you're giving away. So when God shows up with the extra, that just gets you back to full capacity. You never get to overflow when really God's dream is for who we are, the God energy in us, to fill up the saucer and then spill over like an infinity pool
Whew.
so that you're never empty, never dry, never without. There truly is no lack. You're in abundance, energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, relationally. You're living in the infinity, or what I like to call the everness of God, right? Like whatever, however, whenever, whoever, the everness of God. That's like an infinity pool in your life. That's Ephesians, that's a visual of Ephesians 3. When I started doing this illustration years ago, I would get a glass and a bottle of water and just stand out like, get a towel, get a bowl or something, because I'm about to make a mess. I would ask permission of my host or hostess, and I would pour the water into the glass and literally give a visual of the water coming over the side of the glass. Like the glass is you.
Yeah.
The water is the spirit, which is the energy of God, which is the enablement of God, which is the abundance of God, which is the fruitfulness of God, which is the more than enough of God. And so when you live in that space, you always have what you need. And when it gets used up, because there's seasons that happen in our lives, when that gets used up, that's when it's time. Self-care, go to bed earlier, rest, drink water, go to the doctor, get an assessment, see where you are. Are you deficient in anything? Then take steps to become proficient and at level and normalize things that are out of alignment. That's personal responsibility for self and for abundance, and not waiting on someone else to do it for you. So
Whew.
that's my perspective.
I think your perspective is a mantra that will bless so many people. I love the everness. I always talk about the enoughness of God, but now I'm going to add enoughness in the everness. I love that because it gives me an illustration that God is not only ever present, but there's no ending, no beginning. And I just love that. I just have to say, I am so grateful as we end the podcast. It's so grateful for all the seeds and the gems you have shared. And I hope people hear and understand the power of, you said, forgiveness and acceptance and self-awareness and the layers and covenant and community and sisterhood and legacy and alignment and values and how they govern and guide us and disruption and everness. I just wrote a list of words that those words alone can help people put their lives in some type of order, whatever that means for them in this season, in ways that they can have, as you said, peace.
Yeah, that's what it's about, right? Like
Peace. Peace that passes
peace,
all understanding. I
great
am.
peace. Watch
Mhm,
this, great peace.
mhm,
Psalm 119.
mhm,
Great peace have they that love the law of God, the laws of God, which is the love of God,
mhm.
and nothing shall offend thee.
Now, we have to come back because in our next podcast, I want to invite you back. I want to talk about the power of not being offended. That is power in not being offended. And that goes along to something you said earlier before we got on the call about how victory comes in restraint.
Yeah,
Because when you can be restrain yourself from taking action that does not honor who you really are, so you won't get out of integrity. You do that, that restraint is easy when you can guide yourself like you have been talking about. So we and not be offended. So
Right.
I gotta have you back. We gotta have that conversation. Well, where can people? I know you're living in a different season in your life right now, but where can people find you? I'm gonna have information about who you are, your podcast, and your website. Where are some other places where people can find you so that
Yeah, I'm
they
on
can?
a few social media
Okay.
platforms, not all of them. I've gotten off of three of them. I am still on LinkedIn, Facebook,
Yeah.
Instagram,
Mhm.
at all things Vikki, Vikki. My YouTube is all things Vikki Johnson.
Okay.
And my website is vickijohnson.com. I invite you there to get some wearable soul wealth. I have
Yeah.
candles, I have room sprays, scented shea butters, which are amazing, have had that product line for years, have hoodies. My books are available on vickijohnson.com. And I am just enjoying being and living and being present in every moment because any moment can be your last one,
Mm.
right? So
Mhm.
I end my podcast by saying, I want to live full so
Yeah.
I can die empty.
Yeah.
And I mean that every day. And that's my goal, to empty out, you know? I said
Oh,
right,
I
to
think I froze.
replenish and refresh
Mhm.
those around me. And I'm living for me. I'm living for God to get glory out of my life. And I want to die empty whenever that is. So until then, I'm going to live full from a place of peace. And if I get out of alignment with peace, I get back into alignment with peace quickly because in every moment we live at choice. And that's what I'll close with. You get to choose at every moment how the next one is going to be.
Ooh, I am so grateful for your presence and your wisdom and your transparency and your authenticity. I want to invite people to connect with you because I'm sure the impact that you have had on me today is going to be the same impact and more that you have on others. And again, for those who are new to our podcast, thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy, and your space with us. And as I say after every podcast, I believe we all could continue to dare to soar higher in all that we can do and all that we can be. Because I still believe, despite whatever is going around us in the world, that the best is still yet to come. Thanks so much for joining us. Please share the podcast. Please send me a review. Please let me know what you think because I definitely want to always support wherever you are in your journey. And Vicki, thanks so much for being
You're
here.
welcome.
We look
You're
forward to
welcome. My
coming back
pleasure.
and seeing everyone else again. Blessings.